Okay, one more thing, and this is another reply I made to the somebody's QPQI as well. When you read this stuff, I don't want you I don't want you coming at it with preconceived notions or prejudice, prejudgment. As Americans, it is hard to as Americans, we're wired to be suspicious of communism and Marx. And so it's most obvious with this series of readings. But I would say that this is true of really anything you're trying to read to understand. And that is that, take your feelings, your ideas about capitalism, communism, politics, and put them over here for the moment. And think about how you and try and understand the author from where the author's coming from. That's the best way to say it. So I don't care if you're a ruby red Republican. Read Marx to try and understand the way Marx was seeing the world, why he said things the way he said them, and what he was trying to get at by saying that. And similarly, if you're a bleeding heart liberal and you really actually do want a communist society, that's fine and all. Put that aside and try and understand why Adam Smith would say the things he would, or why a free market economist might say the things they would. And this is important because I see this absolutely in parallel with good science thinking, good scientific thinking. I don't think a good scientist should say there's no such thing as God, there's no such thing as Bigfoot, there's no such thing as aliens. I think a good scientist has to keep their mind as open to possibility as they can. And there's a couple of reasons for that. One is you don't know about God, Bigfoot, or aliens unless for God, you got to die and come back. For Bigfoot, unless you've actually seen everything, every uninhabited wild place on the planet, almost all at the same time, you don't know that there's no Bigfoot. And aliens even more so. The universe is so unimaginably vast that anything could be out there, and you haven't been out there to see it. So just because you haven't seen it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. The best example of that I can think of is back in the mid 1800s when the germ theory of disease popped up. The guy that figured it out, people just laughed at him, and he died, as I understand, not real well to do and fairly unhappy. And the reason the reason that he was zeroing in on the germ theory of disease is at the time, doctors had taken over a lot of childbirthing. And so women would be in the hospitals, and the doctors would go from one birth to another, or from surgery to birth to surgery, whatever, without washing their hands or anything. And the patients were dying at a much higher rate in the hospitals than they were when they were doing their home births, which was kind of like exactly the opposite of what they were aiming for. So when he says there's tiny germs that you cannot see that's actually infecting these people back and forth, they laughed at him because they couldn't see them, they couldn't imagine them. But then when germs were accepted as a real thing and people started washing their hands, folks suddenly weren't dying in hospitals at nearly the rates that they were, and ultimately the guy was posthumously vindicated. So I want to be as open-minded as possible and not miss in science the germ theory of disease, or miss in academics and philosophy an understanding of something that would help me understand the world a little bit better. Now, that's one side of the equation. The other side of the equation is sometimes you have to be radically, radically critical, right? And so you can tell me you saw a Sasquatch, and as a friend, I'll say, yeah, that's great. As a scientist, I'd say, well, I'm gonna, what's your evidence of that? Do you have video? Do you have pictures? Do you have, was it a nice sunny day when you saw it? Did anybody see it with you? Can we duplicate this evidence, right? What you're trying to do is you're trying to find all the ways that whatever the person thinks they saw was not a Sasquatch or was not an alien. And that's important because you have to, just as much as you don't want to miss the germ theory of disease, you also don't want to be believing things which are untrue because you fell for shoddy evidence. And when you start thinking about entertaining people, how do I say this? Often I think that the conspiracy theorists were, or the woo-woo new age people, are the ones who are open-minded to a fault. You give them a little bit of evidence here and a little bit of evidence there, and they've got this great big story. Those are the folks that they're not being critical of their evidence. They're being too open-minded. On the flip side, the IFL science kind of young know-it-all atheist who is sure that the world is the way that they see it, they're the ones who aren't being open-minded enough, right? And you have to balance these two perspectives if you want to be a good thinker, not just a good scientist, but a good thinker. And you have to balance these two perspectives when you're reading this dense stuff like social theory. Here's what Durkheim says. From an open-minded perspective, what is Durkheim trying to get across? Why does he think this? Why do intelligent people in 1910, why did they think this? Like, what's he believe, right? But then at the same time, you have to, in another moment, like actually probably a different sit down and read, think, well, where was he wrong? Where could he have not known things which we know now? Where has he been misled? You have to be radically open-minded and radically critical if you're going to be a good thinker.